This conference will now be recorded.
I can. Kara, could you please do a roll call to check to make sure we have our quorum?
Yes. Tracy Bearden.
Tracy here.
Okay, Lawrence
Can you hear
Hartpence.
me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks.
Lawrence Hartpence. Sheriff Rotter.
Here.
George Griffith. I saw him pop up. I think he's on. Mike Bryant.
Present.
Mark Murphy.
Mark's here.
Jeff Anderson.
Jeff Anderson's here.
Robbie Johannesson. Rob Dennert.
Here.
Jack D'Angelo.
Here.
Taylor Teeple. Okay, I'm going to go back. Lawrence, are you on?
George is on.
George is on. Okay, Lawrence, are you on? And then Robbie Johannesson, are you on? Okay, we still have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I believe, just so I know as we go forward, I believe, Chris Myers, you're on, are you not?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I had to unmute my stuff. I am here.
Okay, and I believe I saw Jim Lundstead's name pop up as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if I could please get a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
You might have to say your name for Kara. Who did we have make the motion?
Mark Murphy.
And I'll second it, Tracy Bearden.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? The motion will carry. And then likewise, could I have a motion to approve the May 14th, 2020 minutes?
Griffith will approve a motion. Murphy will second.
Okay, I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Do I have anyone against? Okay, motion will carry. Blake, could you please give your report?
Certainly. Thanks, everyone. I'll go ahead and just jump right in. Want to talk a little bit about the wireline migration, and then we also have ICN and Comtech on the phone that will be able to address any questions and go a little bit further in depth towards the end of my report. But we did send out a note last week to both telcos as well as PSAPs to give a status update of where everything currently lies. As everyone I think is aware, we've been kind of in a holding pattern for the last month and a half due to some of the infrastructure that needs to be in place in order to begin those wireline conversions. The first cut is back on the calendar, scheduled for Marshalltown on June 29th. And then you can see Iowa Falls PD and Hamilton County Sheriff's Office will be after that. So we'll get those dates assigned once we're assured that the June 29th date has occurred and make sure everything goes well in Marshalltown. We do want to increase our communication to both telcos and PSAPs. So we'll be working on a weekly update that goes to those two groups. I understand that might be, an easy email to delete for a lot of you, if it's not relevant or, you don't see any updates for yourself. But I think we'd rather over communicate than under communicate. So look for that coming out. We'll still get another one out yet this week and then going forward on a weekly basis. Also, as part of that email communication that went out, completely understand and apologize that this is causing an extended period of time for the dual provisioning of the ALI database. And it was never our intent to cause that, to have this delay and extend how long you need to be dual provisioning. And that will need to continue until the entire state is cut over. And the reason is due to transfers. If a PSAP that is cut over on the new environment needs to transfer to a PSAP still remaining on the old environment, we need to make sure that those ALI records all line up and are able to transfer along with the call. So that's the reason behind that. And again, huge apologies on the timing of that. Again, it was never our intention to have you be dual provisioning that long, but that's kind of where we sit now. And again, we'll have ICN and Comtech available for questions kind of towards the end of my report. So I would just ask that you kind of hold those for now, and we'll address it all in a little bit, give you a little bit longer to think if you have any questions as well. Moving on, the 2020 GIS information, you still have about a half month if you need to submit for this 6-month period. In May, an additional 5 counties met the benchmarks. So total for 5 months now, from December through May, 83 counties and over $500,000 for GIS grants. And you can see the total there for the fiscal year, over $1 million. Still pretty much on track with where we were this time last year. I mentioned it last month, but I just want to reiterate the benchmarks for 2021, really about the same, just increasing the alley to road center line match rate from 95% to 98%. And we'll be sending out the grant information after this meeting and getting it up on our website as well. So it's really the same thing. Upload once during the 6-month period, meet the benchmarks, and you get your $6,000 per PSAP check, really no questions asked after you meet those benchmarks. Any questions on the GIS grants? All right, moving to the Travel Public Education and Training Fund. Again, nothing really changed here from last month. We were able to get about $60,000, just under $60,000 expended for the year. Seems how, I don't know, the last 3 or 4 months have just been canceled. That's not all bad. And we will be spending an additional $5,000 from ILEA, who is still doing their course, the Healthy Dispatcher, but that'll be held virtually on June 23rd. So we'll be able to spend about, $64,000 out of the $100,000. And I know I covered it last month as well, but just to reiterate, that does then kind of go back into the operating surplus, which eventually gets divvied out equally along with any other excess funds at the end of the year. Looking forward to next year's grants, we did pass kind of the updated policy that going forward for training, there will be a 10% local cost share. And the policy is really silent on if that needs to be funded by individuals through registration costs or can be funded by the agency hosting the course. Doesn't really matter to us, to the council, but that policy has been updated. Slide that over real quick, and it's really here. So that is also being updated on our website. That link to apply has been closed, and it will be reopened Monday as well. So then we can start doing any approvals starting in July. Any questions on either the current year or next year's Public Education and Training Fund?
Mike, this is Mike Bryant. I have one to get myself back up to speed. On that 10%, does that include the NINA and APCO money as well?
Yep, sorry, if you're not on the webinar itself, it's a bullet there and I skipped over it, so I apologize.
Oh, sorry.
It does specifically include ILEA, NINA, and APCO.
Okay, Thank you. Sorry, I'm
No problem.
traveling and
Yep, no problem.
not quite up to start it. Thank you, Blake.
Any other questions? All right, and I will turn it over to Zetron if Cody Brink is on the line to cover their slides.
Yes, thank you, Blake. I am here. So program updates, DESCOM went live May of 20th. We had Olwine just went live yesterday, nice smooth onboarding and cutover process. Jones County's just on the last tail end for themselves. We've got quotes in progress for Buchanan, Lynn, Ringgold, and just kind of waiting for these next couple pieces to go through. And so we can go ahead and then hit the next slide. So this is just deployment timelines on where we're sitting at for the next 4 deployments with Humboldt, Iowa, Marion, and Shelby. Next slide. So new map that we're looking at to show the live active live shared services 911. The green colored are showing the counties, while the green asterisks are showing the independent PSAP locations. There is an error there on the Cedar Rapids PD. That should be Cedar Rapids DPS. So as we get these continuing to turn up and get live, we'll be updating this map for everyone. Any questions?
One thing I wanted to update the council on as well, I'll go back a couple slides on Cody's presentation. I mentioned it maybe our last in-person meeting, but that I know that's definitely been a while. We are working with ICN and Zetron, as well as actually FirstNet, on the shared services PSAPs to basically provide extra connectivity, because now there's so much writing on those shared services. You know, you might have your admin lines, you might have mapping, EMD, CAD, whatever it might be. So between the host and the remote, there's more writing on that. So if the ICN were to go down physically between the host and the remote, you know, you're now losing a lot. So one of the things that we wanted to put in place was basically extra connectivity. So if ICN goes down either for a maintenance window or for an outage, you would not really notice anything different. So we've worked with FirstNet, and we're in the midst of doing coverage testing and working with those PSAPs to really get basically additional network coverage into the PSAP. You know, a lot of times when you think about FirstNet, it might be, you know, you're thinking about cell phone or mobile device. This is really using the LTE network to ensure that the calls that normally traverse ICN traverse FirstNet in case of an outage. So it's that redundant pathway into the PSAPs. So kind of exciting. Not a ton of states or PSAPs using FirstNet in that way. Like I said, just kind of exciting and really looking to begin rolling that out to all the PSAPs that are already up on shared services, really starting late July. And with that, I will turn it over to Mike Lauer or Bill Burnett. I'm not sure which one of you wants to talk first. Sorry, somebody just came off of mute and is breathing heavily. So if Mike or Bill could talk real quick about anything additional on the wireline migration, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, this is Mike Lauer with the ICN here. As Blake mentioned, we do have the PSAPs in place. The first one is Marshalltown on the 29th, and the 2 other ones will follow after we success with the Marshalltown cutover, which we do anticipate to happen on the 29th. Network from perspective of Comtech and ICN are in place. We are waiting on our third-party vendor. We are waiting with CenturyLink to provide some better redundancy and some options of what we see, just to make sure that this is a success. So we appreciate your guys' help. Just waiting through on that. I know that this has been pushed off a little bit of time, but we will make sure that this will be successful towards that. As for anything that is alley related, if anyone has any questions on that, I think Blake covered that pretty well. Bill will be able to answer probably more of that perspective on things. Only thing I want to make mention is as we start to cut things over, ICN, Comtech, and CenturyLink will be doing a lot of testing going forth before we turn up PSAP. So we are trying to minimize testing efforts that we will be needed on the individual PSAPs. There will still be some initial testing that will have to happen during cutover timeframes, just being able to take test calls, so on and so forth during the cutover process. But we are limiting that right now so that we are not being too intrusive to the everyday work of a PSAP. So know that, well, we're keeping you guys well on our minds and making this as easy as possible. We do appreciate your guys' support in these things. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, anything wireline network related, kind of anything alley related, or even maybe some call processing related. You can definitely reach out to myself or Bill Burnett from Comtech. We're happy to answer anything. If you need any just updates towards that, please reach out to us at Blake as well, and we'll get you whatever information is there. Sort of related to this process as well, as I just want to make a general announcement. We'll make sure to hit these up at any regional meetings, but basically want to make sure that everyone knows that if you have any fiber projects or your PSAP is moving or you're looking to build a new dispatch center, something of the sort, every place is going to be ICN connected. Actually, Clear Lake is up. They were one of the last ones, and now we're just waiting for Louisa County. There's a bridge construction that has to be finished. Every site will be connected with ICN fiber then, but there are moves that have to happen, and something just to kind of help give back to your guys' county or any construction projects that are going forward that will require communications movement. Anything that requires a fiber build, ICN, and we talked with Blake on this with Homeland Security. We kind of want to know if we can by July 15th of every year, kind of going forward, because that will start to set the precedence of what can be done in the current construction season before frost hits the ground and winter hits. If we can know by the 15th of July, we can probably pretty much almost guarantee that we'll be able to get things done within that construction season. So if you know you're going to be moving the first of the year, you guys have a new PSAP or jail and dispatches be moved out there. If you know you're going to be moving by the first of the year in the winter sometime, we need to know basically by July 15th, because it's about a 90 to 120 day turnaround with construction timeframes with contractors and who's available and whatnot. If not, it just means that we could still work during the winter time frame. It's just cost increase, and if it's really, really cold out, we might not get it done in that time frame. So just a general announcement, if you know you're going to be having any of those type of projects, please let Blake know, and then also he'll let ICN know by July 15th going forward, and we'll make sure that that's a standard announcement from there. So that's all that I have. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer that. Bill, you could jump in as well.
Yeah, thank you. This is Bill with Comtech, and both Mike and Blake really covered a lot of the updates in regards to both wireline and alley transition. I just did want to point out that we know a pain point for everybody is the dual provisioning, and how that is now, as a result of some of the delays, is being extended for everyone. We're doing what we can to continue to push for a more aggressive schedule. Unfortunately, the initial schedule was extremely aggressive and primarily for that purpose, and that has changed. But we'll continue to push to be as aggressive as we can based on when circuits are available for the region that you're in, et cetera. I also just, as Blake had mentioned, we're going to start giving weekly updates, potentially over communicating. I just would ask as you get these, if I'm not hitting the points of interest on the updates, please just email me personally and directly, Bill Burnett. My email will be in there. I really, want to be able to provide updates that are relevant to the issues that you're seeing and your concerns. So please feel free to just personally email me and say, hey, what about this? What about that? And so hopefully my updates will generally be relevant and things that are of interest to you. But if you have additional things, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions regarding the wireline migration or anything else that I covered? If not, I think that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much, Blake. Thank you, everybody else. All right, I don't believe we have any training fund requests. Do we have any technical advisories? Okay, hearing none. Next up, SWIC, Chris Myers.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Council. Can everybody hear me okay?
You bet.
All right, good deal. Thank you. Want to start off and thank everybody for their continued work and sacrifice with the extra time, hours, and effort that likely were put into COVID-19 and the recent civil unrest across Iowa. Your efforts don't go unnoticed, and thank you again for everything you guys have done over the past several months to help make sure things continue to work. As far as the board itself goes, we've been kind of hampered with some of our TA deliveries because of COVID and in-person restrictions. We continue to work on trying to resolve some of those things and figure out what we can do virtually. And one thing that we have been able to lock in is planning for alternate PSAP facilities course on June 25th. That starts at 0800. That course is one that is kind of lined up as a just-in-time training to help PSAP administrators figure out what questions they would need to ask themselves and of their providers and vendors if they do have to move to an alternate facility for whatever reason. Covers things like legal agreements that have to be in place, technology, and just some things that may have been overlooked in the past with training. It also includes a few elements of what your dispatchers and telecommunicators can expect if they have to operate in an unfamiliar or an austere environment. So we've been able to work with them and try to condense a couple of 4-day courses down to about 4 hours. We have 32 submissions for that so far. We can handle a lot more. And I would encourage anybody that does manage a PSAP or is involved with the operations of a PSAP to sign up. I've seen the slide deck and it looks really good. Continuing on the lines with PSAPs, the PSAP grant, we have more calls scheduled for next week on June 15th. We have 7 PSAPs that have yet to answer a test call. We are also still offering one-on-one training for those centers that have reopened to outsiders. We also have the ability to do this virtually. So if you want some virtual training on the ISIX interoperable talk groups or status board, let me know and we can arrange almost anything you guys would want. ISIX applications approved last month include Pottawatomie County for level 2, Winneshiek County for level 1. Applications up for approval today include Bremer County Emergency Management at level 1, an update to Calhoun County Emergency Management at level 2, Clark County Sheriff's Office level 1, Muscatine County, they're updating theirs to level 2, and Winneshiek County Emergency Management level 1. An item of note for everybody here too, the LTE deployable policy that is designed to help mitigate interference between mobile broadband vehicle deployments, I think mobile cell phone site on wheels, basically limiting the potential for interference between those and existing land mobile radio networks was approved last month. The approved and updated version is posted on the board's website. A couple last items here with respect to status board. It has been live now for a few months. It's been working very well. We've had several people put comms plans on that for no notice and planned events, and it's worked out pretty well. People seem to appreciate knowing what's available versus what is in use. As of today, we have in excess of 60 agencies that have signed up for access with an excess of 400 accounts. If you haven't signed up yet, it's free. Let me know how many accounts you want and if you want any special configurations, and we'll get it lined up for you. Just to kind of update everybody, the long-term reservation for the 6-pack for COVID is no longer in status board, but there's a general understanding that if you do have anything COVID related, you can stick it on that 6-pack for any region, and you can use it for that. Just check it out in status board so people know you've got it, and everything will be fine. We do have a training video for that posted on the ISIX board's website. And again, just like with the ISIX talk groups, we are offering one-on-one or virtual trainings for that. One final item with respect to status board. We know that we're in the early stages of deployment of this, and we've already received a lot of good user feedback. One of those is to try to change the order of how the interoperable talk groups show up in status board. Right now, the statewides are separated by one to 3 tabs, depending on who you are and where you are, from the regionals. What we're going to do based on the feedback that we got for that is work on renaming those tabs so that they're all bunched together. So for example, right now it says IASW IOP for the statewide, and then R1, R2, R3 for the regionals. That'll change to then read IOP for IOP, SW, IOP R1, IOP R2, and so on and so forth. So that way they're all grouped together. That should make it easier for the dispatchers based on the feedback we've gotten, so we're going to work on implementing that. Email notifications on that change, or that start of that change, will go out tomorrow, and then we will start moving things over. What will happen first is centers will see those new tabs appear, but they'll be empty, and then there'll be talk groups moving over into those new tabs on a set date, and then we will remove the old tabs from users' profiles. We're expecting this process to take about 6 weeks because we're trying to allow for enough time for notification to centers. So look for those changes, and if you have any questions on anything like that you're seeing, just shoot me an email or give me a phone call, and we'll be happy to help you out. That's my report, Mr. Chair. I will go ahead and take any questions.
Okay, Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, Jim Lunsted. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, Chair Router. Is my audio acceptable?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay. Just a couple of quick things from the CISA component. We have been sharing regular updates, particularly talking about threat concerns related to commercial and public safety telecommunications infrastructure on a fairly regular basis. Of course, while it hasn't been a major concern here in the U.S., there continue to be a lot of social media driven stories about telecommunications threats to health, and we shared a new product on that just today. Unfortunately, this is an ongoing problem, and continued vigilance to protect telecommunications sites is called for. Just yesterday, another handful of public safety agencies were victimized by ransomware. That is a daily message right now, and although I cannot give you the single solution to understanding how we combat ransomware, there are a couple of key messages that are important to remember. One is your best defense is, of course, to have an awareness policy that most ransomware threats get into our network through email. Someone attempts to connect to you, that you have a link or an embedded Trojan enhanced document or attachment that then becomes resident and provides the vector to get into your network. Your best defense, of course, is a backup that is not connected to your network, because ransomware not only typically attacks active workstations, but any network attached storage with your backups online there. So lesson learned is our best defense is first awareness and policies that encourage us to think before you click. And the second being a good backup is always your best antidote, if you will. The last thing is I want to emphasize, based on some calls that I've received, of course, your first response should be to attempt to get in touch with law enforcement, the FBI, or your agency LE that supports you. Secondly, to get with your IT or your state CIO. And finally, we're interested in helping, but once an incident has occurred, typically CISA is more of a learn from the incident and try to understand how we help mitigate this in the future. So myself or our cybersecurity advisors would not hopefully be your first call. Next topic, we have seen tremendous increases in the use of the Government Emergency Telecommunications Service, GETS, and Wireless Priority Service, WEPS, that have been developed during the COVID-19 response. Although I haven't heard of a lot of cases of this in Region 7, there have been nationwide situations where people were unable to complete calls because of higher level of network congestion. And WPS and GETS have been very successful in helping agencies and agency personnel complete calls to call into a call like this on phone or other activities. We are seeing a 97% call completion rate on WPS and over 99% completion rate with GETS. This includes highly congested network call times around the first and half-hour period. If you don't have these services, we're happy to give you information on how to obtain them. They are typically no cost to public safety agencies, and they are incredibly valuable when you need them. It's a little late to tell me right now you needed it yesterday, because it does take a little bit of time to provision, but these are good tools for your toolkit. Chris Myers, I apologize. Did you mention the continuity of operations training in your brief, or did I miss that?
Yeah, I covered it briefly, Jim, but you know, if you want to add something that I missed, go right ahead. I just kind of covered that we were hosting it. I didn't necessarily go into details about what all would be covered.
Okay. Well, I won't try to give you the course during the course of my briefing. I just want to point out that the technical assistance provided through our Interoperable Communications Technical Assistance Program, ICTAP, is looking for opportunities to deliver training and awareness courses virtually. Iowa is helping us with a delivery of the continuity of operations planning that was devolved from an original course title of austere dispatching circumstance or something like that. If there are situations like that that we can adapt something or develop a virtual course as opposed to in-person training, we're more than willing to take a look. We coordinate that with the statewide interoperability coordinator and Blake, and we will be more than happy to take a look at it and see if it's something we can assist with. Sheriff, that's my report. Pending any questions.
Okay, Jim, thank you. Is there any questions for Jim? Okay, thanks a lot, Jim. All right, I know that we've had a lot of trouble meeting as committees and whatnot, but Tracy Bearden, do you have anything to update on the 34A Administrative Code Committee?
The only update I have is I'm going to be starting to work on getting groups together and people that want to participate. I don't know if July is going to be conducive to people meeting, but hopefully in August things will kind of start getting back to more normalcy so we can meet. But I want to get in touch with people by the end of June, early July, to get on their schedules and see whether or not they can meet virtually or kind of getting this interest for these individual other groups that we've discussed in the past. So people will be hearing from me. I'll be putting out communications far and wide to get people participating.
Okay, Tracy, thank you.
Thank you.
Likewise. Thanks. For the baseline knowledge, Jamie or somebody from that committee on? Okay. Do we have any legislative issues?
Chair, I do have a legislative issue that the Iowa NENA president, Brandon Miller Gus, wanted me to provide the council. House File 2531, which is the bill for an act modifying provisions relating to telecommunicators. That's on the House floor, scheduled for today. They may not act on it today, just because there's so many other things going on. But he does encourage everyone to still contact a representative and ask for support, and to bring this forth for debate and vote. This is a reminder to people also. Angie Dobbs from APCO did stress that this right now does not include changing and updating the IPER status, but this is going to just make sure it aligns with what telecommunicators are doing every day. The last thing, this is not a legislative issue, but since I'm on the line right now, I just wanted to let people know that the Iowa NENA conference, and I assume as well the Iowa APCO conference, are going to be scheduled for this fall. However, because the health and safety of their attendees is the most important thing to them and is a priority, they are looking at virtual alternatives. So just be waiting for an announcement on that, but they are working on that. And then that's all for me.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Any other legislative issues anyone's aware of? Okay, I don't show any unfinished business or any new business. And Blake, I think we have no travel requests. I'm pretty certain of that.
Correct.
Okay, so do I have any business from the floor? And if you do have something, please identify yourself first. Okay, I'm thinking that we have none. Any 911 issues from any of the PSAPs? Okay, well, I know these meetings like this can be a little cumbersome. I'm awfully thankful that we're able to have it. Thank you, Blake, for setting it up. It's a little tough to get through all the guests that we have on these calls, but looking at the top of the screen, it looks like we have a pretty good turnout. I do thank you for taking the time to be with us today and making the best of a situation that is very trying for more than one reason now. And thank you for doing the best that you can of continuing operations as close to normal as possible. And with that, I would entertain a motion to dismiss.
So moved, Murphy.
We have a second. All right, thank you, everyone. We'll be adjourned. Stay safe.
Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.